Hello, family. Welcome back. I wanted to address a few things about the debate that everyone's talking about with Pastor Greg Locke and Dean Odell. It was one of those things that all of us went into hoping and praying would be more peaceful than it was. I knew that there would be some animosity. However, I think all of us wanted the Spirit to move on this, and it did at times. However, the end result was, of course, not really a full disaster. I mean, if you had seeds planted, it's not always a full disaster, but it is really challenging for those seeds to sink in when the distraction at the end takes away from all the work that was done going into this. And so, for me personally, I would love to reach out to Pastor Greg Locke if there was any way someone can share these thoughts with him, because he's someone that I understood right away when I saw his challenge where he was coming from. And it's hard for a lot of people to relate to his anger if you've never been someone that's put yourself out there in the spotlight and received hate. It is challenging. I remember in our early days of starting this channel, we were putting out videos about, NASA fails and things like that, and evolution and the biblical earth. And instantly, I mean, we had so much anger. My wife would go on to the computer because we shared a computer. I'd go to work and she would use my computer, and the notifications were turned on back then. And she would see these comments pop up. I mean, people using bad words before I learned how to block the bad words. That was happening all the time. People saying, mean things about my children. They didn't even know I had children, but like, if you have children, I hope they die, just like evil, like just pure demonic driven evil. And Pastor Greg Locke receives a lot of that. I saw that in the comments of his challenge video. I've seen it in a lot of places with people like him that are out putting themselves out there. And so he's coming from a place of hurt. He's been hurt by comments from truth seekers, people who might believe in the biblical earth model, but they aren't exuding the fruits of the Spirit. So we have to be careful with how we are addressing people who are deceived. We're to pray for our enemies, not the enemy, but our enemies, the people that have been deceived by the ultimate enemy and those unclean spirits out there at work, trying to hide the Father's handiwork. We know where these people are coming from. We need to send them love continuously. If we had done that continuously, I don't think this whole debate would have happened. I thought, maybe that was kind of needed to get him to challenge and bring these biblical verses to the forefront. And there was some good done there with a lot of good Bible verses being shared. I think Dean covered a lot of really good ones. I mean, he did a really good job in spite of, the way things were and the uncertainty of how the format would go. But for Pastor Greg, he has a lot of hurt. And I could see that with his tone when he was talking and coming up with this challenge. And that hurt just lingers. And it may not just be from things we've said. He gets attacked by a lot of people. And so you have to take that into consideration. Continue praying for him in spite of all the anger he has. We've all been angry about this. There's many of us who have been angry coming into this truth. I've seen it with people who are now on this side, and they were on that side at one point and they were angry. And we've got to send them love, forgive him for anything he said. If he's insulted us, big deal. He's attacking out of hurt. And I could sense that. I think many of you out there can sense that. And so that's a sad way to live, with unforgiveness and just hurt all the time. But I know where he's coming from. If the Most High hadn't set me free from the hurt that you get from those attacks, it makes you want to be smart aleck and just jump out there and say these comments and reply back, returning hate for hate. But fortunately, this is nothing that I did on my own because I'm some special person. It was because I was trying to do the Father's work, and I'm getting all this hate. And he says, just return love, like, see what happens. It's not exactly what he said, but that was sort of what I felt when I was doing this. And it really did make a difference. When someone sends you hate, they don't know what to do when you don't send that back. They're expecting that. It's really confusing to them when you're like, I'm sorry you feel that way. Or, like, just don't return the smart aleck remarks, as easy as it is, and see what happens. Be kind. The word tells us to peacefully plant seeds. And I think that's what we all need to continue doing. Those of you who have been doing that, and stop making the memes about Pastor Greg and how he was an epic failure and that Dean was the winner and all of that. Like, you're only driving him further into that downward spiral. He's going to see these things, and you got to realize your actions have consequences forever. They keep those consequences, continue on. And so stop the cycle of, I sound like I'm a kind of abuse campaign. Stop the cycle of abuse. But no, stop that cycle of just jumping on the bandwagon and sharing the memes about someone who's obviously was in a tough spot. He went up against a man who's had 8 years to experience this and looks at the Bible, the original words, or the meanings of the words in their original languages and all of that. Like, someone who's had 8 years versus someone who's had a month or a month and a half, not too long to really prepare for this. And it's tough. I could not have done that from Greg's position. I don't think any pastor out there would do that. And it says a lot about him that he's brave enough to just say, "Hey, I'm going to go hit this head on." That's big. And so I think that's why he is where he is, and he's in this one place for a reason. And I mean, the people that the Most High set free out of Egypt, they didn't just go straight to the Promised Land. We forget that sometimes. They had to wander around in the desert. They had to mess up, and the Most High, before he set them free, he knew what they were going to do. He knew they were going to mess up, but his mercy endures forever. He has a plan to set his people free yet again, and it's already in motion. Many of us being set free, being called out of Babylon, like it says in Revelation, "Come out of her, my people." We're there. And be humble about that, though. We are blessed to be set free. We are blessed to not fall for these end time deceptions. And I believe that's what I think Greg thinks that this is, an end time deception, when in reality, I mean, he did say that he didn't believe in the aliens and stuff. That's part of that globe belief, and seeing how that ties together. It would be great to see someone like him watch the final card, or even just look at the footage of the firmament. You don't even have to look at the translations in the Bible. We have footage of it. It's on a playlist we have called The Firmament, and so you can look that stuff up. It's still there for now. It was highly censored at first. However, Nova took their footage down or set it to private or something, and it caused our footage that was hidden to come back. And so I don't know why they would take down that historic footage, but I think some of us know why. Once you actually see what it is, they must have known what it is. There's no reason why they would pay all the money to get in an airplane and go above a storm and film that and then go, "We're just going to take it down," but they did. And so I don't blame them. I'm sure they had a lot of biblical creationists coming into the comments, and they probably had orders from higher up saying, "You're going to have to scrap this footage." And so that stuff's still out there, though, and it's fortunately been saved. It's on our backup channel. All that stuff is in the description. You can find that. But I just wanted to encourage you guys to send love to Pastor Greg. It's, again, not easy to be him. And a lot of people, I think it's easy sitting back and watching people like him to go, "Oh, I could do better than that." It's tough. We all have different beliefs. I feel like I've searched out truth so hard that it should just be so easy to understand when I teach it. And it's like, I run into people that we all still have different beliefs, and we're all still seeking truth, and we just come to different avenues. We go different directions. It's okay. Just be peaceful, be humble, have Bible studies with people and word studies. We do that all the time. We disagree on things. It's not the end of the world. It will be soon. It's not yet. So don't get too bent out of shape. Continue learning, continue growing. And like we've said throughout this video, is plant seeds and do so in a way that is productive. Really, really be peaceful with it, because that was brutal. That was so hard to watch, and seeing all these precious souls out there watching this live in person, and just seeing their demeanors change when that it was like the Holy Spirit was almost like kicked out of there with that type of anger, and that shouldn't have been the case. There was many of us praying, going there. I think we pulled up in the parking lot. I was there with Matt Beavers, his wife Candace, and Drew Bishop. He was there, and we pull up in the parking lot. Got to play the parking lot's already filling up. It was really cool to see that happening. And we get out of the car, and there's some other people, and we don't know if they're biblical earth believers or not. And they get out, and they are, and they're like, "Man, we've been praying that this goes well." And so there was a lot of us praying that it would go well. And so I think maybe it did. Maybe we'll see the benefits of this from some testimonies that pop up. You never know, because I think segments of Dean's presentation will get shared far and wide. And I hope that's the case. Just the segments that were good. I don't want. I was totally walking out of there thinking, man, the whole mic incident at the very end where Dean tossed the mic at him and he slapped it down is going to end up on the news. Who knows? But that's the kind of stuff that they like to run with. Like, see how much of a division this is. When it didn't have to be a division. It could have been far more peaceful than it was. And so the anger was mostly coming from one side, but I'm not going to say it was all one sided. I think it's hard. I couldn't have imagined being in Pastor Dean's situation, so I'm not going to say he was just like this bad guy for what he did. It's tough when you're a preacher like him and you're not used to being talked to like that on a stage in a church, and that's something he was dealing with in real time. Those were real emotions, and so just return love and be peaceful. And it is really challenging. I mean, it is extremely challenging. I've been in debates, and I had my brother with me once, and he started getting that letting that anger kick in because they talk down to you, they make fun of you, they're there really to try to destroy your way of believing. And so, I mean, that's why it's called a debate. And so I feel like we need to really be putting more of the proofs out there. I think there's a lot of you out there doing that now, more of you on different platforms. We're being censored in a way that I've never seen before. And so we thank you guys that are still staying around, supporting. Come back and click the bell icon and make sure it's clicked as many times as you can, because I don't think people are getting notified since about, I don't know, 2 months ago. It's like the notifications must have just got turned off for everybody. And so make sure you're still being notified. And I thank you guys so much for all of your support. We're still wanting to pursue the homeschool thing next year with the Creation Standard. I'm hoping for that to be a major blessing. We had our first live lecture a couple weeks ago over Thanksgiving break, and it was fun. It was powerful, and it was kind of a trial run for me to see if I really enjoy it and if it's something I really could see myself doing full time. And it was a blessing. And so we had about, I forget how many people that joined in, but it was something extremely awesome to be able to speak to children about creation and intelligent design without any fears of being observed. It's a new feeling for me because I usually don't get that unless I'm doing videos like this. And so it was a blessing, and I would love to do that. And I know there's already trolls in the comments of that video. I've had like 4 of them back to back. And so I know they're going to come out of the woodwork once this starts going and growing the way that I believe it could. And so that's going to happen. I'm just probably going to start blocking people instantly on that one. I don't want or maybe just turning the comments off on those videos. I don't want the children viewing those and seeing the nastiness, because that stuff, they can be harsh. And I like to keep it on there so that if like students had questions they could ask in the comments. But man, I wish there was a way to only limit that to subscribers and parents. That would be cool. But may have to turn that off and have them, have a discussion post for us in other places and not even worry about that. Just skip out on that altogether. But anyways, I just wanted to share those thoughts with you all about the debate, and encourage you to really send this guy some love. As angry as you are about the things he said, just let it go. Forgive him, and hopefully he can forgive those of us. I don't want to say us as if I was part of that group sending the attacks, but anyone sending you attacks like that, Pastor Greg or anyone listening, they're not coming from the Most High's love perspective. Okay. And so that's not something that we need to be upset about. It's not coming from them. It's coming from a place of darkness in their heart. And it's not good. And so I just want to encourage you all, send love his direction or in the direction of any of the haters, and just see what happens, because it's a powerful thing. I've seen it change people's hearts when we were doing that back in the early days, and even recently when we were sending people love that were sending us hate, and they would come back and say, you know what, I'm sorry for the things I said. The Father's, spoke to me on this. The Holy Spirit has changed my heart on this, and I'm going to investigate it. And so that wouldn't have happened had I started the back and forth, making fun of them too, like they were making fun of us. And so see what happens, and let us know, because I think this is something that could really help change our community if we start doing this more often and just only send love for every single one of us. See what happens. I'm telling you, I feel like we're going to bring in a big harvest, when we do that. And that's one of the reasons why this movement has grown is because a lot of the people on this side of the movement are extremely humble. But you do have those who are just extremely obsessed and want to express their opinions in different ways. And so remember, stay kind, stay humble. The humble are the greatest in the kingdom of heaven for a reason. That's why the Messiah referred to a small child who was extremely humble. Be like that small child, humble yourself. And remember what a small child does, why they're humble. They look up to their father. They know their father is greater than them most of the time, and they look up to you for wisdom. And so look up to the Most High that way and see what happens as well. So we'll see you guys around real soon. I just wanted to pass those words on because I could have a little bit different insight onto this, being that I was there and given that I have experienced a lot of the same hate that Pastor Greg has. And so I love you guys. The Father loves you, and we will see you around real soon.